welcome to Better Than Yesterday. This is the first episode of a new series that we're doing here on this channel called BTY Icons, looking at people that we think are inspiring and someone that we can learn from in a self-improvement space. And the first episode that we're doing today is about Michael B. Jordan, someone who's just dropped a new movie called Creed 3, which he acted and directed in. And we just wanted to have a look at his
Yeah,
life, do a bit of research, a deep dive into what this man is all about and what we can actually learn from on the journey that he went, coming into the man that he is today, man. Excited to have this conversation with
exactly.
you, man.
Yeah.
It's been interesting to look at his life, and I think we've got a lot of cool points to
hmm
talk about.
Yeah, definitely, man. To get into it, yeah, I just wanted to mention that Michael B. Jordan, like his movie, it was the biggest sporting movie in the US, and it also like won the biggest opening weekend at box office with like the amount of streams that came in. But to
Sheesh.
say I watched the movie myself, and yeah, it was just a really, really good movie to watch, really inspiring and motivational. Like once I walked out of that cinema, I just wanted to start like even giving like more when I train just to, get the physique that Michael has built. But
Yeah.
it takes a time. It takes time to build.
It does, man. Yeah, that's so cool. I haven't given the movie a watch myself yet, but that's cool to hear that review from
hmm
you. Definitely makes me want to watch it, man. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
watched the previous couple of Creed movies, which are really good, and I think what's cool is like we're going to get into this here, but Mike, he's seeing all this amazing success now, but he wasn't always at this
Yeah.
point, so it's cool to see his come
Yeah.
up, and that's sort of what we're diving into today, man. Yeah, no,
hmm
so I mean, not only that, in 2020 he was named Sexiest Man Alive. So, the man's
Exactly.
really been, reaching new heights. But to start off, we were doing some research here about his earlier life, man. And it was
We
interesting to
were.
see that he actually went through some bullying. There's a new
Mm,
interview that I watched with this person that he went to school with earlier on, and she was saying
yeah.
about, she was saying, oh, Michael, we went to school together. And it's funny, the first thing that he says to her, he says, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm the corny kid. Because a few years ago, she made a podcast where they were talking about how in school they thought he was this like super corny guy. They used to bully
Yeah.
him about his name, because he was playing basketball at the time. And obviously his name being related to Michael Jordan, but obviously
Yeah.
was nowhere near the basketball skill that guy had. So, I heard that he was received quite a bit of bullying about, yeah, maybe that's just his name, and being skinny and scrawny and maybe a bit corny. That's what it's funny, it seems like he really held a little bit of, you could see that those girls maybe actually definitely played a bit of bullying in that early years of his development, because you could see that sort
Yeah.
of he reacted to it well, actually, because he was still like very respectful, but you could see that those
Yeah.
girls actually were quite mean to him when he was younger. So yeah,
hmm
man. I mean, bullying is something that both you and I have experienced, and Michael B. Jordan experienced, man. And I think it's interesting to note that a lot of people who are successful and like you look at Elon Musk and a lot of other successful people also went through bullying, and it
Yeah.
seems to be something that actually toughens you up a bit here in your younger years, man. But it really depends on the way that you react to it. I think Michael
Exactly.
B. Jordan really reacted to it well, because
Mm,
he started doing modeling in high school, and that's what led to his acting career. And he also actually received bullying about that. I was reading in an article that he would bring like those mugshots to school, and those would be sent out to the modeling companies, but people would always give him crap about that. So yeah, man, it seems like bullying was something that was quite evident in his high school career, man.
exactly. Yeah. But it's so cool to see that how he even used those mug shots and the acting and modeling that he was doing back then to become a success. So stuff that he was
Hmm,
bullied about is what's made him the man
sure.
who he is today, like the
It,
levels that he's reached now. So sometimes it's like that thing, they all laugh at you when you start off, but then
yep,
they all want to know you once you've become famous or you've
so
reached
true,
like
man.
the success at that type of thing. The same with how that girl wanted to say they've been coming on a long way, but he knows that like back then they weren't really they were calling him the corny guy, and then being able to go from that skinny being called corny to the world's most like sexiest man alive. That's such levels, and it just shows how he took his revenge on being successful rather
Mm,
than wanting to be like a bully to them as well, or like to
sure.
call them out and be like become this like evil like bad man, just
Yeah,
trying to get like that bad boy persona in order not to be bullied. But he actually used a different method and instead just used it as motivation to, and he kept focusing on himself and getting himself to where he
so
wanted
good,
to
man.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good,
And
man.
then it's amazing, man. And it's good to see the persistence and the grit that he showed in order to do that.
100%.
And that's also what I can like point out, what we should also practice in our lives, like that persistence and that grit, that even in those difficult times when it seems like everyone's against you, you just keep pushing, pushing, and you know
Yeah,
you will one day like reap success if you just keep putting in that work and doing it in
it's
a
good, man.
smart way.
Yeah, and I saw
Yeah,
a
and
quote from
then
him earlier as well, just in this
mhm,
interview I was watching, and he was saying you just have to like block out the noise because obviously that would have been like a lot of
yes,
noise that was going on at the time for him. You know, people that were
mhm,
like you're saying, oh, why are you doing this modeling? Why are you trying to get into acting? But he blocked that out, and that's what yeah, you know, if he had let it get to him, you know, we wouldn't even know who he is today. But thankfully, he pushed on, and that's what's allowed him to reach all that success.
yeah, true. And like him starting off at 13 with his modeling acting career,
Sure.
and we didn't really know about him back then, to start being a success now in like 2015 when he got the lead role for Creed. That was like
Yeah,
the
that was the
first Creed
first big
that
one.
came
Eh?
out. Yeah, and then moving on to Black Panther, where he played that villain guy. That's when he started becoming a household name. So from him starting at 13 to only being like start being known to really being known in his late 20s
Hmm.
and his mid 30s, it just shows that it takes a while to build up, and that even if you're putting in the work, but you're not seeing the results immediately, you should just keep going because at some point it'll come.
That's good, man. Yeah, I think that's something that's quite relevant. So I remember us having a conversation the other day about
Yeah.
how, yeah, no, we just, you know, both of us are 20 years old at the moment, and
Mm,
we both got like high ambitions. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of our viewers will relate to this. Is you know, we all have like big
exactly.
ambitions of where we want to be,
Yeah.
and you know, it can be quite frustrating to not be at that point yet. You know, maybe you have been putting in the work for a couple of years now, and you're not like there yet. You know, we haven't like reached. I mean, for us, we're both still studying. We're not really
Yeah.
making huge amounts of money yet. You know, even with this channel, we're still building things up. But yeah, I think
Exactly.
it's important to note, like you say. I mean, when Michael B. Jordan was you know, our age, he was also like still seeing very little success. He was acting in a few very small movies and series. Like I saw there's a few soap operas that he was just appearing in
Hmm.
episodes in. And yeah, man, so it really does take a while, like you say. But you know, you have to put in the work in these years, you know. So sometimes you know, I've heard this as well from other people who are older than us. They say, you know, that it takes a lot of failures to actually reach a success, you know. So
Mm.
yeah, you know, it's going to take a lot of like maybe in these years just trying things out and it's not going to succeed. You know, like with himself, he was in a few movies that weren't like super successful, and you know, but yeah, you have to gain the experience from those kind of situations, and that's what's allow you to actually become successful later on because you've learned from all those different things that maybe didn't go right in these years. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
it's very relevant
That's so true.
because at our age, yeah, we're putting in the work, but like you say, I don't think we give ourselves enough patience sometimes because we want to
Mm.
be at this level right now. But like you say,
Yeah.
Michael reached that success at 20, I think it was 28, 29 when Creed came out. And I mean,
Yeah.
now directing his first movie, currently at the age of 36, man. So,
Exactly.
and I mean, the man's enjoying life. Like, I don't think he would take
Mm.
anything back, or I don't think he has any regrets. You know what I mean? So sometimes we do see people who are very successful at like 20 years old or 21 years old. But for most people and for a lot of people, it will really take time. That's what's so inspiring about his journey, man.
Yeah. And what's also important that like we should always remember in our lives is that, like you said, some people experience success at a certain age, but we should remember that all of our paths are so unique and so different that we should that's why it's also important to just keep focusing on ourselves and looking inwards, trying to always
Sure.
improving and like bettering ourselves rather than always looking out and seeing your friend like reaching a next level in his life and then
Mm,
putting yourself down because you aren't at that level, but you know that you two are living two different lives. And that's why it's so important not to compare yourself with others, which we've in our previous videos, which we've mentioned again, but it's just that important. That's why I'm bringing it up again, just
it's
to
good, man.
keep focusing on yourself and trying to be better than who you were before. So comparing yourself with yourself. And
Yeah,
yeah, to remember that to keep that patience even during times when in your life you feel stagnant and it feels like things aren't moving forward because it's just that different like season that you have in your life and just to sort of keep strong and reminding yourself about all of these things that we're talking about, like putting in the hard work, even though it feels like you aren't moving forward. And
it's
then I
good,
also
man.
want to get into the point of how Michael used his breakup recently, like from like his long-term breakup from Steve Harvey's daughter, like he didn't go out like pursuing other girls immediately and wanting to get revenge by meeting the next like baddest girl on the block or something, but he rather like put his head down and used it as motivation to
Mm,
focus on Creed 3, his movie that came out and did so well
sure.
recently. So that also just shows that he once again his revenge was to be more successful rather than turning out and trying to be a bad guy by like breaking other girls' hearts or whatever,
Mm.
man.
Yeah, no, I saw that, man. It's very interesting. I think she
Yeah.
initiated the breakup because she was
Mm.
there was like even a public statement apparently that she made that she was just like looking to experience more guys. Like she wasn't ready to settle down. She just wanted to have more new experiences and that kind of so on, that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, man, I'm sure for him that must have been difficult to take. You know, it obviously it's never fun to take that blow to your pride. But like you say, man, I mean,
Mm.
he's literally I don't think he has started a new relationship since then, at least not publicly. And like
No.
you say, he's been focusing on directing his first movie. I was watching a few behind the scenes things, and it must have been
Yeah.
so cool because starting off as an actor, you obviously are subject to other directors the whole time, and you can obviously see how they do things. But he must have been paying attention the whole time to how these people were doing it because now at 36,
Yeah.
which is still very young to start directing your own movie, man. I think that's very cool that he must have really been very observant and like looking at what they were doing and now he's directing his first movie. So very cool, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's the perfect revenge, that he could have got. Instead of trying to do the same thing and being like, well, if you can move on, then I can move on too. Now he was just like,
Mm.
cool. And I'm sure she's looking at him now, with all the success, and is like, maybe I should have settled down there. So these are the kind of things,
Yeah.
man. But I think he really did take that well, man. And yeah, man, I think what's also cool to note about his success now is also like his physique, man. If you look at him
Sure.
in his 20s, even like when he was 25, 26,
Mm.
when people sometimes think that that's your peak, like, but I really don't think it is, especially for, your physique as a man specifically, man. A lot of people think that
Yeah.
your 20s is like where it's going to be the best. But I've seen so many actors, bro, like, and specifically Michael B. Jordan, where like they've just improved so much later on, man. So if you look at him in his 25, or maybe throw some pictures on the screen, and he was just like super skinny,
Mm.
like his whole acting career, he was very skinny. And I think then moving up to Creed, and then that when he played Killmonger in Black Panther, he really put on a lot of size,
Yeah.
and people just start to take him more seriously. And man, that's also a point I made. Is just I think people really started to take
Mm.
him more seriously once he put on that size, and yeah, he just looks so impressive now. To the point where in 2020 he won that Sexiest Man Alive thing. I mean, yeah, man, it's very inspiring for us who are doing our gym journeys at the moment, like working on our fitness and our bodies, to know that like we don't have to like again, we don't have to reach that peak right now. As long as we keep working on it now, like it'll pay off. And then even into our 30s, you see how he's looking right now. I mean, he's looking insane, man.
No, definitely true. And it just shows how important like continuous growth is and pushing
Sure.
towards continuous growth. Like it just keeps building up every year. And like, yeah, so if you're being consistent, just know that it will pay off. And it's amazing how he also like tends to add value beyond himself. He just doesn't focus on himself because if you look at what he did for his parents. He like bought them a house instead of like he could have like
That's why.
went to stay on his own, get his own place, but he decided no, he's gonna move in with his parents and like build them a house. And then later on he moved out and went to go stay in his own place. But first he looked out for his family and those who supported him when he couldn't support himself back then. And that's just like such an important trait to always give back to those who gave to you. And also, what he did is he started his own production company about 3 years ago, which is called Outlier Society, which aims to change Hollywood by always adding like having a 50% diversity in all productions that it brings out. And he's
Hmm.
looking to do some big things with Will Smith and like a few other well-known actors as well. So he's still got lots of like as much as reached so much height at like this young age, he's got so much
Sure.
dreams and goals that he's aiming towards. He just keeps looking forward and seeing what he can do next, which is so
Wowzers, man.
awesome, man.
That is cool.
Yeah,
It's exciting to see like where he'll be. I mean, we're speaking about him now, but it's exciting to see where he'll be maybe in like 5, 10 years from now. I'm sure he'll just keep on that upward trajectory, man. I don't see any reason why he would
yeah.
stop.
And that's why it's so important to not get complacent once you've reached a certain level
Sure.
of success. Like you should always be content, but just still keep putting in that work because as much as it's so difficult to reach a success in a high level, it's very easy to become unrelevant and fall off and just
Yes.
get back to a failure. So you can never like start sleeping on yourself.
Hmm.
You must always know that you have to be actively just doing more as well. And
Yeah.
then
Reinventing
and
yourself.
like yeah, you have to, man. And just like keep growing and evolving as time goes on.
That's
And then
good.
a last point that I want to bring up that I also noted from Michael B. Jordan is he's got this ultimate confidence by even not refraining from his true self, but like bringing out his true self. Like even in interviews, he'll mention that he's such a geek and he likes watching anime. Like Naruto is one of his favorites, and
Hmm.
he's still remaining his true self, even as much as he's improved on his weaknesses and
Sure.
the things that he was like perhaps bullied for back then. He
Yes.
still like remained true to himself and kept this like original version of himself. He didn't hide it away. Even being this popular and successful now, he just stuck to being who he really is, and that's something we can all learn, man.
It's true, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Like you say, I mean, I think he must have like had a deep look at himself and be like, okay,
Mm,
what are the parts that I really do need to improve on, like his physique, for example. I think he was sort of
yeah,
characterized as that funny like sidekick character. And I think in the first few like big movies he was just like he was in a few big movies before Creed, I think, but he was always like the side character. He was just like a
yeah.
bit funny, like a bit nerdy. And then yeah, and then now he's obviously seen as this like I mean he's played in like boxing movies and he played that super bad villain in Black Panther. So he might be seen as a different person, but like you say, he's held true to the parts of himself that he did love and care about. I'm sure there's.
Mm,
I saw an interview as well where he was talking about how he wanted they asked him about his bucket list and he was saying he wanted to go to Japan because like you said
yeah.
he's such a big fan of anime and he's learned so much about the culture and like all the values even in stuff like anime people always laugh at it as like this thing for nerds and I'm personally not like a fan of it but there's a lot of like values and stuff that you learn from that kind of stuff so yeah man it's cool that
Yeah.
he's not ashamed to like enjoy the stuff he enjoys. So what he's done is like really just refined himself. He's improved the parts that needed
Mm,
improving, but without like losing himself in the process, which you maybe see from other people in Hollywood and in music and that kind of stuff, man. Yeah, man, it's
yeah.
been cool to have this little look, like this deep, dive into his character, man. Before this video, I didn't actually know too much about him, man. But it's been very cool, and I think he's someone that we can definitely learn a lot from, man.
Yeah, no, definitely it's been cool to just yeah, like you say, take a deeper dive and not just look at Michael from how or who he is now, but just to take a deep dive past and see where he started off to being at where he is now. Because a lot of the times life looks so easy to us through
Mm,
these actors and these icons just by because we're focusing on where they are now, but we don't know
mm,
what they had to go through to get where they are these days. And like you said, with how he's just like kept himself and he didn't lose himself. That's also something that I want to like learn as well, that as
mm,
I'm improving and bettering myself, to not run away from who I was before, but to actually like add that and just be wholly myself instead
for sure.
of trying to be this whole new different version. Yeah,
It's very
man.
good, man.
But
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for an awesome conversation, and I
enjoyed
hope
it
we
so
can
much, man.
like just continue with this new series. It's
Yeah, for
exciting
sure.
to be able to, yeah, do the BTY icons and just look into different people. I'm excited to see who we're going to study next.
100%. And yeah, I think it'll be cool to look at maybe character like more actors, people from the
Mm.
past, maybe just people that we know that we look up to. Maybe even like fictional characters, like Thomas Shelby from Peaky Blinders. I think that'd be an interesting
Yeah,
character to
that
dive
would be
into, man.
awesome.
So yeah, looking forward to it, man. It's been cool to hop on a podcast. I've enjoyed the last few videos we've done together, man. Always good to have
Yeah,
these conversations. The individual ones are very cool, and hopefully you guys have been enjoying that. It's just difficult with Daniel and I schedules to always line things up. But yeah, man, we just
definitely. Yeah.
enjoying building this community. Yeah, better than yesterday.
Yeah. So that's it from us, BTY. And then, yeah, always like we say, much love. Enjoy. Cheers, guys.